Over the last year and a half, I've improved my way of life, and that's helped me to transform my body. Today I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, but when you make progress and succeed, it can be easy to feel like your job is done and slowly drift back into old habits. Sometimes some inspiration is needed to stay on track or to begin a new journey to better yourself. So join us as we look at some amazing body transformations. Possible Pat. Pat Brocco was a bodyguard who let his lifestyle get out of control, mostly because his career actually encouraged him to become as big as possible. At his biggest, Pat weighed over 600 pounds or over 270 kilos. One time, Pat was on tour with a famous comedian and they placed a friendly bet on who would win the NBA Finals, and the loser would have to do 50 push-ups. Pat lost the bet, and when he attempted to carry out his punishment, he realized he couldn't even do a single push-up. This happened in a room full of people, mostly women, and with a comedian present too, so you can imagine that it didn't go too well for Pat. However, the blessing in disguise was that this was a wake-up call for Pat, and after the tour was over, he decided to change his life around. He got rid of all his junk food and began exercising. As you can imagine, someone at his size wasn't able to do much in terms of exercise, but every little really does make a difference, so Pat decided that whenever it was time to eat breakfast, lunch or dinner, he would walk a mile to Walmart and a mile back. He did this for the first 60 days, over which period he managed to lose a staggering 90 pounds or 40 kilos. But Pat wasn't done there. He eventually started going to the gym regularly and got into bodybuilding. Over time, he'd end up losing 340 pounds or 154 kilos, which is over half of his original body weight. As you can imagine, a drastic change like this left Pat with a lot of loose skin, which he eventually got rid of with a surgery. Pat turned his life around, and in doing so, found a new purpose in life for himself. Today, he dedicates his time to helping others make positive changes in their lives too, and offers nutrition advice, exercise routines, and more over on his website, teampossiblepat.com. Jared was overweight his entire life. Each day, he was a little heavier than the day that came before it. That adds up over a lifetime, and by the time he turned 40, he weighed well over 500 pounds or over 220 kilos. Being at such a weight makes even the smallest tasks so much more difficult than they need to be. Bending over to tie your shoes, walking up a flight of stairs, or even just sitting in a chair in front of the computer for 8 hours. But Jared had had enough and was ready to make a change. He found DDP Yoga, created by WWE legend Diamond Dallas Page, and decided to start on their program. In the first 9 months of the program, Jared lost over 190 pounds or 86 kilograms and got the opportunity to meet DDP at a film screening. DDP was blown away by Jared's progress and invited Jared to be a part of DDP Yoga's new workout videos. Jared had become so fit that he was able to partake in the most challenging workouts they offered. In just a little over 1 year, Jared managed to lose 300 pounds or 136 kilos and has an inspirational video on YouTube that I'll link in the description. Furious Pete. We all know Furious Pete as the guy on YouTube who does crazy competitive eating challenges, and to some extent the bodybuilder slash powerlifter who has repeatedly battled and defeated cancer. But what many do not know about Pete is that he didn't always look like the buff dude that he is today. In December 2002, he was hospitalized for anorexia, weighing just 120 pounds or 54 kilos. Pete had various family-related issues like illnesses that contributed towards his eating disorder. Like many who suffer from anorexia, Pete felt that he didn't have control over most aspects of his life, and so decided to exercise a lot of control over his eating habits instead. Pete was ready to make a change. He started exercising religiously and researching about training and nutrition. Over the following years, he managed to put on a lot of size and defeated his mental disorder. No longer was he affected by negative thoughts and body dysmorphia. In 2007, his physique was progressing well, but he also discovered the talent that we've all come to know: his eating ability. Many might say Pete went from one extreme to the other, but over the years he's managed to keep himself at a healthy weight and he seems to be doing well today. So good for him. Lyss Remaly. Growing up, Lyss had always struggled with her weight. She was raised in a great home and had a fantastic childhood, but her eating habits began to show at an early age, and by 4 years old she was already seeing a nutritionist for her diet and health issues. The older she got and more weight she put on, the more it began to affect her life. Kids from school started to tease and bully her, she didn't have very many friends, and her self-esteem was at a very low point. She began cutting herself to deal with her emotional pain and even contemplated ending her life. A bit later in life, she found peace with herself and embraced her appearance. She started getting into comedy and took on the funny fat girl role. She had a wake-up call when she got on an airplane and realized she didn't fit in the seat and also needed a seatbelt extender. She had a weight loss surgery that removed 70% of her stomach and gave her the kickstart that she needed to turn her life around. At her heaviest, Lyss was 350 pounds or roughly 160 kilos and was over 60% body fat. Over 3 years, she lost more than half of her body weight and ended up at 150 pounds or 68 kilos. She had reached her weight loss goal and needed something new to work towards, so she decided to compete at a bodybuilding competition. She managed to lose a bit more weight and got into a great shape and won in her show. Nick Scott. The story of Nick Scott is a story of overcoming the greatest of adversity. As a teenager, Nick was interested in the usual stuff, sports and girls. But on the 17th of August 1998, his life forever changed when a tire blew out on his Buick Skylark. The car rolled over 5.5 times, ejected him from the driver's side window and hit him in his back. Whilst laying in his hospital bed, the doctor came in and told Nick some news that nobody would ever want to hear. That his days of football are over and that he would never walk again. He fell into a depression and stopped taking care of his body. In the end, his weight grew until he was well over 300 pounds or nearly 140 kilos. Realizing that he had to do something, Nick took it upon himself to get back in the gym, where another harsh reality hit him. He could no longer squat or deadlift or do many of the things he once could, but he could bench press. And bench press he did. He won numerous powerlifting competitions at his school, whilst he dropped back to a much healthier weight. After finishing college, Nick turned to bodybuilding and realized that bodybuilding for people in wheelchairs was almost unheard of. He started a website, wheelchairbodybuilding.com, and from there he pushed the idea of having a professional bodybuilding show dedicated for people in wheelchairs. He managed to get the NPC and IFBB, the biggest organizations in bodybuilding, on board, and with a sponsorship from bodybuilding.com, got the division started. And that's it for this video. Hope you got some motivation. I try to show people who have different challenges to prove that it really doesn't matter if you're fat or skinny, a man or a woman, young or old, disabled or otherwise healthy. The choice to make a change is yours and yours only. Thank you for watching and see you next time.